Hello everyone, I'm Vivek Atray and this is another episode of the Good Vibes Show. And this time I have two poets, two professors, two very accomplished individuals and a remarkable set of ladies here. And we're sitting in Chandigarh in the UT Guest House where we do a lot of our episodes. It's a proud privilege for me to have Alka Kansra ma'am and Sunaina Jain ma'am on this episode. Alka ma'am, we'll start with you.
Definitely.
From chemistry to mystery to history, I should say from chemistry to writing because that was just rhyming.
Yeah, actually.
How has this transition been?
From chemistry to salad chemistry, and from salad chemistry I graduated
talk about the
to
salad
poetry.
Chemistry also. Talk about it.
Actually, I was always passionate about cooking, and since a few years, salads became my forte. I started hosting salad lunches and salad dinners and used to make, and once I remember I made the salad for the whole staff and carried 2 big boxes to the staff.
At MCMDAV,
at
where you were a
MCMDAV,
professor.
when I was working.
Yeah.
And I thought, let me go in for a business. And I actually worked upon the salad, worked upon their shelf life, how to pack them up so that people can pick them up from the shelf, eat it as a complete meal. But it was very, very successful. I had a few offers from the cafe. I was supplying my salads to one of the cafes. And then I had a few offers to open up my own cafe. But then I think my husband, he wanted to travel. And in this business, you don't get any chutti because I was taking each and every leaf myself. I couldn't take a risk with people's health.
Each and every leaf, so
myself.
no leave was allowed to you in that business.
Yeah, no leave.
So Mr. Bharat Kansra was cooperating with the whole
Yes. Initially, he was not at all favorable to it. He said, okay, you want to do it, you do it, but don't discuss it with me. So once I started, I called people for tasting sessions and I experimented. Then he realized I'm very serious about it. And once I started supplying, then he started sourcing. He helped me. He helped me tie up with a vendor who would come home and supply the things and everything. And whatever I needed, he used to help me in packing things. Like this will be a good packing material, that will be a good packing material.
There are some personalities who at first when they hear a new idea, they're reluctant.
Yeah.
They are negative. I'm also one of them actually.
Yeah.
But then they are better in the long run.
Yeah,
they cooperate, they support.
Yes.
He seems to be one of those.
He is the stable one. And I'm the foolish one who wants to try each and everything. I'll hear of a thing and I'll want to do it. So like when I retired, I think I made a list of about 15. One day I just sat down and I thought, let me see what I want to do. And I made a complete list. It turned out to be 15 or 16 things. Mm-hmm. And I told myself, Alka Kansra, are you mad? Mm-hmm. How can you do so many things? Mm-hmm. Then I prioritized, shortlisted, made it 3. Until then, writing was not on the scene. Oh. I just started writing a little bit, but it was not on the scene that I'll write a book, I'll join some literary clubs or something.
We'll come to the writing part, but when we first met, you reminded me that I mentioned to you that you have a good vibe about you, and that's why perhaps you are on the show, both of you. And so, Alka ma'am, the good vibes part, how does it come? How do you generate these good vibes? Do you have a factory or something?
No, I keep on meeting people like you who are doing good vibes show.
Tossing it back.
No. So once you are a part of groups where good people are there, like I'll mention Novel Bunch.
Yes.
I love those people, all achievers in their own right, but still down to earth. Nobody has airs. And everybody is ready to share whatever they have done, whatever they can help.
Yes.
If I need a help, I know if I approach any one of you, especially you, I'll immediately get that help.
But Dr. Ranjana Malik, who's your close friend, is also part of Novel Bunch.
Yeah.
She comes to our events often.
Exactly.
And also she's been on the Good Vibes show as well.
Yes, she's been. That was the first episode of Good Vibes show which I watched because Ranjana Malik, she forwarded the link to us. And we happened to be a part of the same book club, which started about 15 to 16, maybe more than 16 years ago we started.
Right.
And we meet once a month and at somebody's house or we meet outside wherever the hostess decides.
I believe you had a meeting today before.
Yeah, we had straight from the meeting I'm coming. So we decide upon the book, which book has to be read. And then all of us buy that book or we share amongst ourselves. Some people read it on Kindle. But we make sure that all of us are committed and we read that book and then we share the ideas, what we think about the book.
You're all obviously very good girls because I would never be able to do that. Read the book and then come with my views.
Yeah.
You have to read the whole book.
We are committed and we write notes. And to the extent, out of us, all of us are very, very committed. But Ranjana Malik, she has made a complete file of the notes which she has prepared of each and every book. So if you want a list of all the 16 years which books we have read, she has the list with her.
Oh my God.
She has got a complete file in which all her notes have been compiled. I'm not that meticulous. So, but I enjoy going there. I enjoy meeting. We have very close bonding now.
No more power to you and your book club, and we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Sunaina, you've grown up elsewhere. You've come to Chandigarh. This Chandigarh vibe. Now we talk about book clubs, novel bunch. How has it transformed you?
So, first of all, sir, thank you very much for having me on the Good Vibes show. And as they say, the vibe attracts the tribe. So, it has been a very transformative journey for me because I was born and brought up in Ludhiana and in a business class family. So, I got married very early at the age of 21, and for good 11 years, I was a homemaker. Right. And then something happened, in life, there are moments which completely transform you as a person. There are epiphanic moments. So some mishappening had taken place, and that led me to thinking that I want to do more with my life. And I was very good and passionate about reading and good in academics. So I wanted to pursue that as career, but then I got married in a joint family. So everything else took a back seat. But then I revived it. So in 2010, I picked up studies again. I resumed. I cracked UGC NET. I got enrolled in a PhD program. I got a job in DAV 10, taught there for 2 years. And then since 2013, I've been at MCM. So it has, yes, same college. So she's been my super senior. We've seen them and we've always looked up to them. So that has been very transformative and very empowering in so many ways because this journey has enriched me in so many ways, has reconnected me to many things that I'd lost touch with over the years, be it painting, be it singing. So I was good in singing, I was good in painting, but
don't you sing now?
I do sing.
And you do paint as well?
I paint
and
as
you do
well.
write poetry, which we're going to talk about.
Yes. So
nothing is was, it probably continues, right?
Yeah, I picked a lot of things, especially after joining MCM. So MCM in a way has empowered me, has made me what I am today. So all thanks to MCM, the very encouraging faculty members. I'm very proud of my Department of English. So they have nurtured me, they have encouraged me, guided me at every step, and yes, made me what.
English, I don't understand much. I'm an engineer. Ma'am is from chemistry. I understand. Yeah. But coming back on the lighter side, coming back to you, ma'am, your journey as a professor, as a teacher, started at the age of 20. How did all that happen, and how did it go on?
It was a beautiful journey in my case. I started at a very young age. I finished my MSc when I was just 20. And as soon as the result was declared, a day prior to my result, I was engaged. My father was very keen. You have responsibility, se free ho jana. He was a conventional minded person. So I didn't have the heart to, once he said, I couldn't say no to the whole thing. But next day only we saw an ad in the paper for contractual people for in MCM DAV college to teach chemistry. So me and my brother, we just went on a scooter, applied without telling mom and dad. Evening was the interview. Mrs. Roy was the principal. So a few ladies were there. They conducted the interview and I happened to be selected. Then I told my father that now I've been selected and I'm joining tomorrow. Immediate his reaction was call up my in-laws whether they'll allow or not. And they said it's open.
I can well relate to it.
Yeah. But that way they asked my husband. My husband said it's okay, let her do it. In case she is not able to cope up after the marriage, she can
be
give
at
up.
That time.
Yeah, in the year 77. Yeah. So he said it's so all right, let it be her decision. In case it's difficult, she'll give up after the marriage.
Right.
Let her.
He was already sensible back then, huh?
Yeah, he's sensible that way. Actually,
but then your teaching career, what has been the highlight, or what have you grasped out of it, and how fulfilling has it been?
It's been a very fulfilling journey because I feel that teachers, they have a power to touch lives. And I feel when I was teaching, I never realized that I'm touching lives. I was giving my 100% and somehow always had the tendency to walk an extra step and go beyond the boundaries of the regular job. So I think I gave many firsts to the college at that time. We hardly had any activities. So I started many activities in the college. I used to involve the students, and the tendency in the college was The staff used to manage everything and give duties to the students. I used to go and discuss an event with the students. They used to come out with the brilliant ideas, and then we used to execute them. So now when I retired, now I feel that I came on the social media post-retirement. Now I find that my students, since my first batch in 77 to my last batch in 16, they all are digging me out, and they go overboard in complimenting me. Whenever they meet me, this is the one line I always hear: "Ma'am, we are here because of you. You
that
made
goodwill
it."
which you generated effortlessly just by being yourself
Yes.
is actually the earning of life.
Yes.
And many years after,
They're the biggest awards.
that's right. You will bump into them in the market or the station or the airport.
Wherever
and
I
they'll
go.
come up to you.
Yes.
And maybe there were some, if I can use the word khadus teachers, and people ignore them and avoid them.
Yes.
They don't come to them.
They do it.
It happens with officers and ex-officers.
Yeah, yeah.
No, not me.
I think you were a friendly officer. You were always a friendly officer.
So I'm coming to your journey, Sunaina, again. And how did this come about? We're talking about teaching, and then she has this book which you might like to just explain, talk about. It's your recently launched Patchwork Quilt.
Yeah, so this is my maiden poetry collection titled The Patchwork Quilt. The title of the book is very dear to me, very close to my heart. Actually, it has something to do with my research journey. When I was doing my PhD, I was researching on an African-American writer. She's Alice Walker. And I was reading her book In Search of Our Mother's Gardens. So she talks a lot about ancestry, about women's solidarity, how the patchwork quilt, when these people, when these women, older women, come together, they stitch quilts together. So it becomes a symbol of solidarity, continuity, creativity. So that motive stayed with me. And last year I happened to write a poem, The Patchwork Quilt, for which I won a prize at one of the annual poetry competitions. And that gave me that nudge of CLS, of Chandigarh Literary Society.
Yeah.
So that gave me that nudge, because I had been writing for some time, for the last few years, but never got that push to kind of, compile the poems, put them together, stitch them together. So this patchwork quilt, kind of gave me that nudge to put everything together, all my poems. And this book is my labor of love. And it is divided into 3 sections basically. So it's divided into self, love, and world. Because self, love, and world. Self is
self-love.
It is about self-love also.
Right.
So that is, it can be hyphenated as well. It can be brought together. So self, where each one of us as self, we struggle to find our moorings in the world. Right. So it's also my journey of self-reclamation, of, identity, of representation, of finding my feet, of finding and trying to search for the meaning and purpose of my existence, of my life. And then I move on to the second section. That was not, of course, a conscious effort, but that is how I later on thought of dividing the book into 3 sections. So love, I think, is a natural corollary of, our struggle to find self.
It's our innate nature.
It is our innate nature.
Repress it, suppress it.
So love in all its dimensions, the rugged terrains of love, loss, longing, yearning. So that constitutes the second section, and love does not come without its disclaimers, so love with its paroxysms and love with its elusiveness.
An English professor is explaining them.
Yeah, definitely.
With this terminology, which science people don't understand.
So I'll find simpler words now, ma'am.
We were understanding it.
It's perfectly fine. This is just banter.
Yeah.
So it is the elusive nature of love in all its dimensions, and not just the romantic love. It's also about filial love, love for parents, love for homeland.
Love for the Lord.
Love for the Lord, yes. So this is what I explored, though I haven't explored, that facet much in love, but I intend to do so in my next collection.
Right.
So I'm working on that.
And the third part?
And the third part is world, because not every time we are thinking of identity and self-reclamation and love. So sometimes, our observations, our experiences of the world, around the world, the social malaise, that also, gets us into the thinking mode. So that's kind of a social commentary on what I see around me.
Right.
Like there is a poem, Dumb Charades in the Night. So that is about the child sexual abuse. There is a satire also, Paint and Varnish. So that is a satire. So this section is more about the world as I see it, as I observe it in all its, absurdities and eccentricities, basically.
It is very well explained. I'm sure I'll ask you to read some poems in a while. I'm going to go to Alka ma'am, but before that, you said something about paint and something it just rhymes with saint. And recently, my sister-in-law and the husband and the children have got a dog. It's on the lighter side. One of them wanted to name him Saint something, and the other wanted to name him Walnut.
Okay. Very interesting.
So now the name is Saint Walnut. That's the name.
That's really interesting.
So sometimes I mistakenly call him almond or cashews or something. Anyway,
It's very
Cashew is quite a preferred name for
Yeah,
pets
walnut
that
is
way,
very
but
interesting.
walnut is very
Children can come out
different.
with
Saint
anything.
Walnut. So, ma'am, sunset musings, your writings, English, Hindi both. You're a poet of note yourself. I was there at least one of your book launches. So would you just talk about...
You launched 2 of my books.
Oh, I did. Really?
Yeah. One
So-
translation book also you
Right.
launched. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So why don't you just briefly talk about them and then read out 1 or 2 poems?
Actually, I have already written 4 books, 2 of Hindi poetry, 1 of English poetry, and 1 a translation book. A Hindi poetry book by somebody was translated by me. And the last one which came out was Sunset Musings. And now I've written another...
You can show it there.
Yeah, I can show it there. It is called Sunset Musing. Summer. The title is relating with age also, because I feel after 60 you start entering the sunset years, and then the thoughts which come into your mind, they are basically compiled into this book.
Right.
So they may be different from what the youngsters
Want to
did.
read something for us from that?
Yeah, I'll read one of the poems. Rather,
Yeah.
I'll read one of my favorite poems.
We'll get to hear at least 4 poems today, I think 2 each.
Definitely, it'll be a pleasure.
And I still call them poems, by the way.
Yeah.
With apologies to the Americans who say poems. I mean,
Yeah.
we all say poems, we'll say poems.
Yes,
No,
I
we
was
say
chided once by a very senior professor, and that was the only day I happened to say poem.
Acha,
And I
exactly.
generally use poem only. I don't know how.
This is the
And
British way.
Yeah. We are conditioned to the
so she told me the academic way of saying is poem only. I said, I do. I say poem
Luckily, in
only.
my recent reading on camera, I've said poem.
Yeah. And they were beautiful poems, I must say, and beautifully narrated. So I'm reading out one of my favorite poems from the book. This is Known and Unknown. Warm winter sun, sitting in my garden, wrapped in a shawl, looking at the clear blue sky through the branches of a tree, a stray cloud here and there, forming lovely patterns. My world is in stillness. I can see the known. Through my mind's window, I contemplate the unknown. Through my mind's window, I contemplate the unknown. Shiva's abode, they say, is beyond the clouds, is beyond the blue sky. It is all elusive. I can feel his presence in my moments of pause, so near, yet so far, known yet unknown. The moment passed. I am looking at the known, the new green foliage, beautifying the branches, a time for change, a time for new growth, a time for progress, a time for new opportunities. Unknown, sending the message through the known. Unknown, sending the message through the known.
How lovely. I really like the moment of pause which you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's very important in life.
Yeah, you can feel these things
Self-reflection.
only in the moments of pause.
So this self-reflection is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. How about the Hindi one maybe?
Yeah.
Since you have the floor, so
Uh,
one from Hindi.
yeah, I'll read out from the Hindi also. Actually,
I really like this title, ma'am. Zindagi Kavita Ho Gayi.
Yeah, this was
And
my
inspired
second book.
by
Did you know
this.
that as well?
Yeah, this book was launched by Mr. Atray again. And
And as I just have a look at it, I'm reminded of after reading this title, I wrote a poem, Life Becomes Poetry.
Okay.
So that is going to be a part of my
Oh,
next
very good,
collection.
excellent.
I wrote it, I just wrote 4 lines one day. And on that only I named the book.
What are the 4 lines?
Those 4 lines were कुछ शब्द तेरे, कुछ शब्द मेरे, परस्पर मिले जिंदगी कविता हो गई.
So
And Dr.
beautiful.
Mehndiratta said your next book is going to be Zindagi Kavita Ho Gayi.
The Dr. Mehndiratta
Yeah,
from Punjab.
yeah, the
University.
Doyen
We
of
lost him
Hindi
recently.
literature. Yes.
Man
Yeah.
is still hale and hearty.
She's still
and
hearty, yeah.
There's somebody known as Atul Mehndiratta, and I'll show this episode to
Yeah,
her, who
yeah.
goes and reads the autobiography of a yogi to her every day.
Okay.
Because I love that book, Autobiography
Oh,
of a
that's
Yogi. I
great.
told Atul,
That's great.
he's reading it not himself, but he wants to
Okay.
read it out to her.
Out to her.
So
Okay.
beautiful.
Okay.
And she's about 90, I guess.
More than 90 should be. And her daughter is with her now, and she's compiling Dr. Mehndi Ratta's biography.
Lovely.
Yeah. So now my next Hindi poetry book is coming. Maybe by the end of this month, it'll be coming.
Look
It's
forward
with the
to that.
publisher. And I'll read out. I've named that book as Swam Siddha. Swam Siddha is somebody who can accomplish things herself. So Swam Siddha. The poem is, this is the first poem in the collection, and in few of the poems this word comes, Swam Siddha. कभी पूछा नहीं सीता ने मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम राम से क्यों ली गई अग्नि परीक्षा भेज दी गई क्यों वन में एक धोबी के वचन सुन. I'll just wear my specs. कभी पूछा नहीं सीता ने मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम राम से क्यों ली गई अग्नि परीक्षा भेज दी गई क्यों वन में एक धोबी के वचन सुन. कभी पूछा नहीं राधा ने चक्रधारी कृष्ण से द्वारकाधीश तो हो गए पर क्यों फिर कभी लौटे नहीं वृंदावन राधा की सुध लेने. कभी पूछा नहीं यशोधरा ने महात्मा बुद्ध से चल दिए क्यों रात के अंधेरे में क्या पूर्ण ज्ञान कर पाए प्राप्त. स्वयं सिद्धा हूँ नहीं चाहिए राम कृष्ण या बुद्ध. नहीं चाहती बनना सीता राधा या यशोधरा. नहीं चाहती जीना जीवन इंतजार में. न दूंगी कोई अग्नि परीक्षा. मैं हूँ स्वयं सिद्धा. मैं हूँ स्वयं सिद्धा.
In fact, the vibes are getting better and better on this Good Vibe show. With this poetry, it is so stimulating, so inspiring.
And
indeed.
Thanks a lot.
It's about
Fantastic.
embracing
Women empowerment.
women
basically.
empowerment,
Yeah.
assertiveness, and
So right
We're
from
all
my
three-
career, I've been focusing on women empowerment. Like
Yeah.
I try to empower my students.
I just realized that all three of us, and my book is also coming soon, yours is coming soon, hers
Yeah.
is just out, are authors of 2025, apart from before you and me.
Yeah.
But amazing. So, Sunaina, over to you. Would you like to read something?
so it's actually very difficult to narrow down my choice. Okay, so here is one poem which is Grandma's Iron Chest, and this is, in the classes we are generally talking about partition times, partition literature, and I've had some stories narrated to me by my grandmothers, Dadima, Nanima. They migrated from Pakistan. So some things, some experiences stay with you, and it is called, sometimes we experience vicarious trauma.
Exactly.
That is trauma which we haven't lived but still lived through the stories of our grandparents.
This is a
So-
sandook, right?
Yes.
The iron chest?
Yes. जो संदूक सर सबके पास
Legendary
पुराने
संदूक.
ज़माने legendary
Legendary
संदूक.
संदूक.
So how that sandook, that iron chest, speaks to us is the poem is all about. Grandma's iron chest. It rested uneasy but motionless for years. It rested uneasy but motionless for years underneath my grandmother's bed, as she transitioned into another world and carried along some tales that were yet to be unfurled. The chest began to heave, rant and pant, heavy with its baggage of untouched relics of the past. Inside the chest lay a half-knitted baby pink sweater, reminiscent of an unborn uncle or aunt lost, while my grandma's hurried feet must have tripped over the rugged terrain. Next to the half-baked dreams of an unborn child, there was a silk scarf in peacock motif. Its creased, crumpled plume and weathered feathers bemoaned the loss of its rightful owner, on which the initial K in embroidered silken thread betrayed another story of loss and longing. A scalloped table linen in cream and red turned to rusty brown, unburnished. What must the table have looked like? Was it hand-carved, ceremonial, massive? Did it speak of our ancestry? Would it have survived alien or hostile ownership, when other people took over your homes? In a silver temple dubbi, a few aluminium coins and a handful of yellowed rice grains, to be placed at the altar of a god still waiting to be appeased. A pocket knife with a wooden handle and a yardstick rested in a small tin. Who will legitimize their existence? Two grainy photos lay in a deep slumber, in a tarnished brass frame with its glass cracked and splintered. The faces seemed familiar as well as remote, the last remnants of the lives lived in peace, before all was swept away in a tornado of bloodbath. Ah, the most precious letters, unstamped, unposted, unopened for decades, lest their smell should invoke the charred bodies, mutilated dreams and parched souls. These and many more relics lay buried inside my grandma's chest. Stories told, untold, truths hidden, revealed, hearts punctured, yet sealed.
There are so many tales in one poem, so many stories, so much truth.
Yeah.
In fact, poetry, interrupting you from your second reading, poetry is something that doesn't come to me. I write prose, as you both know, I write a column and I write more also, but poetry doesn't. How does it come to you? What is the quality you need to be a poet? What makes you write poetry?
And to me, I think I can think in terms of poetry only. I mean, that is my natural expression.
Is it due to your training, your background, or is it spontaneous?
I don't know about training, but we've been fed on a lot of poetry. So we've been reading, Robert Browning and John Donne and Pablo Neruda. So a lot of poets, I think because of that reading, one feels attuned to express feels at ease, expressing oneself in poetry. I'm not sure about others, but it works for me that way.
I'm going to ask ma'am also later, but you read your second one. And Neruda, by the way, such short sentences.
Yes,
sir.
And so powerful.
Sir, love is so short, forgetting is so long.
Yes.
This encapsulates
Everything.
Yes.
everything.
And in past days, if you look at times gone by, one glance at another individual was all you had in terms of love.
Yes.
And then the whole life you're thinking about.
Yes. Yes.
We have lots of things which enable interactions.
Instant.
That one eye contact. And then for decades you're thinking about it.
Not instant love, instant
I
separation.
think this line everybody can relate to. So how it becomes so universal.
Yes, so universal.
He must not have thought about it, but how his poetry became so universal has touched so many lives, millions of lives. Yeah, that is the power of poetry. Okay, so this one is from the section Love, and it happens to be one of my favorites from the book, You Smelt of Love. So it talks about the different stages of love, from the childhood or young adult love to a mature form of love. Ensconced in the cushioned, upholstered comfort of a lounge chair, as you placed yourself in my carefree lap, our lazy recliner lapped up and preserved your fragrance. The same odor which a deer secretes to invite a cooch, and you smelt of love. Now, cooch is a Welsh word and it is more than a hug. So it's not just a hug. It means when you are giving cooch to somebody, you are providing that person that safe, secure space.
Comprehensive embrace.
Comprehensive embrace. Yeah.
You paraphrase.
All-encompassing hug. The tender floral and honey notes in the crimson threads of saffron rejoiced in your delicate soft fur palms. Sometimes the slather of creamy butter melted into soft breadcrumbs in your warm hands, and like the tantalizing hint of sweet caramelization, you smelt of love. When petrichor from our drenched garden grass wafted through the beds of marigolds and dahlias, and when our fingers crisscrossed into each other's, when passions surged and pulsated in a trance-like conjoined body rhythm, you smelt of love. When the waters ruptured and she entered the world through you in pure bliss. When the waters ruptured and she entered the world through you in pure bliss, the ripples of unmitigated labor pain submerged in joyous cries. I tiptoed around you as you lay covered in the green labor gown. The acrid blood was all around, but you smelt of love. Years later, Years later, when names, places, people slipped away from your memory. Talking about the old age. Years later, when names, places, people slipped away from your memory like the last remnants of a crumbling monument. When shredded, crumpled papers reeked of waste in our room. When you navigated through sundowning, and when you forgot the sight, smell, and sound of your own body. When you forgot the sight, smell, and sound of your own body, you still smelt of love. You still smelt of love.
So lovely. So lovely. Love is endless, timeless, permanent.
Yes.
Super. Alka ma'am, this we're coming towards the second or rather closing stages of this show. This way of being a professional, a professor, and then a deep thinker. This multi-dimensionalism, how easily does it come to you? And then the salads and other things, and then homemaker, obviously, in that respect, the family person. How do you juggle all these?
I think it comes so spontaneously. This is just being a woman. Woman is, every woman, she juggles with so many phases of her life, so many roles that she, And when you come to poetry, I think that also comes spontaneously. I never think like they say, there should be a discipline, every day you should write a few lines. No, I don't follow anything. Suddenly, I'll start writing, I'll have some ideas and I'll start writing. Maybe that day I'll end up writing 3 poems, 4 poems or an article or something.
Really?
And then for 15 days, 20 days, I'll think I have to write, but no, I will not. And I don't even force myself. I want it to be spontaneous. So whatever comes from the heart, I write down. And in a way, if you ask me, I consider writing as meditation for myself. For the reason, because when I'm writing, whether it's an article, a review, or a story, whatever it is, or a poetry, you're not thinking of anything else. Suddenly your mind goes blank. And once you have written it, you're totally, इसको कहते हैं खाली हो जाते हैं. The art of living. I follow art of living, so Ravi Shankar ji always says अपने को खाली कर दो. And suddenly, I never understood this terminology.
So how do you connect it to spirituality?
I just happened to do a course in art of living, and that was also, maybe I was destined to do it. I was very skeptical. One of my friends, she did it. She says, "तू भी जाके कर ले." So I thought कि चलो try कर लेते हैं. इसमें भी देखते हैं experiment करके क्या होता है. But then
experiments करते रहे आप.
हाँ, experiment ही करते रहे.
Life में करते.
Yeah, and then I became a devotee. Within those 5 days, I turned and I found that God is really great. He's able to give everything. And basically, I don't follow any ritual in my pujas or anything. हाँ, जोत जला देते हैं सुबह, जैसे घर में ritual बना हुआ है, आरती कर ली, that's it. But not from that particular, जिसको कहते हैं कि बहुत ज़्यादा आप में commitment है या कुछ है. But yes, I do believe in the superpower.
Can I interrupt you and ask, when you went through medical issues and there are people of your all age groups watching, what is your message to them about healing through belief and faith?
We should have faith in everything, in the superpower. If you have faith and you feel happy, like in my case, when the doctor told me कि अब आप rest कर लो, I was very happy. I thought कि now this is a well-earned rest which I've earned throughout my life.
More poetry.
हाँ, क्योंकि even after retirement, I used to feel मैं लेटी हुई हूँ, मेरे को कोई काम करना चाहिए. Why am I not working? I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Now it became legitimate for me, and I think during that time I wrote a lot.
Yeah.
Spontaneously, because I was doing nothing. I was just lying down, or I was just moving around in the house, directing the servants or something. Nothing much. And the simple food. मेरा कुछ मन भी नहीं करता था कि मैं कुछ ज़्यादा करवाऊँ या कुछ है. And we were hardly moving out, and we were enjoying life. So if you just accept everything, whatever is happening to you, because there's good phases, bad phases, health-wise, otherwise, they have to come into your life.
I think that's very well said. That's why I'm going to pause you there, because no better lines could be there from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
But I'm coming back to you for one final word later. Sunaina, what about you? Juggling all this. Family, you want to say something?
No, I had to add on to what ma'am was saying. So just seconding her, opinion on the process of poetry, writing poetry. Like I also am not very disciplined in writing, but sometimes I just have a very random thought. I take a pen, I start writing, and it is, you know, as if the poem is approaching me. I am not approaching the poem. So it is like, you know, you arriving at some destination, and that is something which happens automatically. So it's not a thought about a premeditated attempt on my part to kind of, you know, unfold a poem in a certain way. It gets unfolded on its own. So that is how.
So come back to juggling and this family, and then you have 2 boys, ma'am also has children.
Yeah.
I mean, you all do an immense job of juggling a lot of
So
things.
I think we've been talking about the multifacetedness of all women. I think everybody would agree. So we are, I think, conditioned, and I'm very happy to be conditioned like that. So if I'm able to juggle a few things, you know, if I get bored of cooking, that has been a very integral part of my life in Jain households. So there has been a lot of emphasis on cooking, which I've been doing happily. And now it has taken a little bit of backseat, like I have some other things to do as well. So a little bit of backseat, because I do paint, I sing, I write. So I divide my time. So if I get...
Time management, prioritization.
And then now there's an added responsibility with a few PhD scholars under my wing. So there is more of work. But I think... you know, I take things as they come. So
PhD
with the flow.
under your wing, books under your belt, more to come. So what is your future plan for your writing journey? I mean, this book is your first
I
one.
want to take my writing seriously from here. So the Patchwork Quilt has given me those wings, and
published by...
It is published by Writers Workshop, Kolkata.
And the cover is very beautiful.
Thank you. This is a handcrafted, hand-embossed cover. And I had it in mind that if I get a book published, a poetry collection published, the first one would be from the Writers Workshop, Kolkata. So I'm very glad that it could be possible. And next in pipeline is, I am already working on my second book. So it's halfway, and it is again a poetry collection, because as I mentioned, that is something that comes very naturally, spontaneously to me. Prose writing is okay. I do write short stories at times, some kind of flash fiction, which again I am thinking of compiling.
Someday.
But yes, someday. And there is also an academic project at hand, which I hope to, which I hope sees the light of the day by the end of 2025.
So basically, the sum and substance of it is that poets can write prose, but prose writers can't write poetry. That's what I feel. You are perfectly legitimate in what you said, and more power to your writing.
Thank you so much.
But I'll come. What about your next book after this?
I have a few books under planning. Like I'm writing a Hindi story books, and then an English poetry book. It's almost done. I just have to sit and compile. I take life easy now, and I feel that every book has a time which has been destined. Like,
very nice. And then would you like to say a couple of lines to our viewers just before we part? I mean, something, anything, any message, anything for the youngsters, or anything for anyone else, society itself?
No, what I feel is for the whole society, if you want, and especially the youngsters, I feel whatever they are doing, whatever line they pursue, whether they are students, they are young professionals, or they are older people, whatever you decide to do, give your 100% to it. Do it well, whether it was your choice or it was somebody else's choice.
Like whether it was zabardasti or it was of choice.
Yeah, like if I look at myself, it has been always my father's choices. I never wanted to be a teacher. He wanted me to be a professor. I became a professor. I never wanted to study chemistry. I wanted to study botany. One of his friends said, "You are in a transferable job in ONGC. ये FRI में काम करती रहेगी, शादी कैसे करोगे?" He said, "No, you do chemistry." Okay. Then I wanted to study physical chemistry. He said, नहीं, organic chemistry की तो pharmaceuticals में बहुत ज़रूरत होती है. You will get a job there better, you know. So it is the destiny takes over. I'll say it's the destiny, because one fine day I thank my father that you forced me into this profession, and I enjoyed it.
Give everything that you have. That's your message.
You give 100% and have faith in God. Whatever is destined for you, you may feel at that particular moment कि अगर मैं उसमें होती तो मैं ज़्यादा अच्छा कर लेती या कर लेता. But the credit will definitely come to you one fine day when it is most appropriate for you.
And closing remarks?
Closing remarks, ma'am has already given, shared her words of wisdom. I want to share a quote. And that is what has stayed with me over the years. I once read, there's a line by Maya Angelou, a quote by Maya Angelou. I'm very fond of her poems.
Powerful.
Yeah, she's very powerful in many ways. So this is a quote. I've learned that people will forget what you said.
Yes.
People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yes.
So this is so, I take it with me. It stays with me. And there is another one by Maya Angelou where she says, the desire to reach for the stars is ambitious. The desire to reach for the stars is ambitious. The desire to reach the hearts is wise.
Wow,
So
super.
how we can, reach and touch the hearts.
Through this Good Vibe show, and we spoke from the heart, all of us, hopefully, especially the two of you. And I've been reading this book, Healing by God's Unlimited Power, which is about healing. So those of you who are undergoing any stress, pain, or health issues, it's by from the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, author of the autobiography of Yogi, and very important to have faith.
Yes.
And those vibes which we're talking about, they heal, they actually heal. So thank you for watching, and fantastic to have had your viewership on this show over the years. I hope you keep watching us. And this episode has been a joy to be a part of. Thank you very much, ma'am, Alka ma'am, Sunaina ma'am.
Thank you, sir.